Welcome back to our new show, Politics Unusual. I'm Morgan McKay. There's been so much happening this week, so we're going to dive right in. Mayor Eric Adams making headlines this week. We're going to bring in two reporters who have been on the ground with us covering his case and the race for mayor as we hash out inside details on what happened and what's next. Next, we'll have New York State Senator John Liu in as our guest to talk about the state budget, and we'll check in on the New Jersey governor's race now that an important deadline has passed. But first, a couple of political headlines this week. The New York State budget is officially late. State lawmakers have passed another budget extender on Thursday that will fund the state government until Monday as negotiations continue. And recently appointed first Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro will continue to represent Madison Square Garden in a high-profile lawsuit brought forward by former NBA star Charles Oakley. Mastro says he's doing it for free and claims he's been given the green light to continue to represent MSG by the Conflict of Interest Board. But Oakley's attorney now asking a judge to ban Mastro from representing MSG, saying it gives the appearance that the Adams administration is siding with the arena. But speaking of the Adams administration, I'm being joined now by the New York Post City Hall Bureau Chief Craig McCarthy and Daily News reporter Josie Stratman. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We have so much to talk about this week. There has been so much going on, so I appreciate you guys. You guys have been on the ground breaking stories over the past year. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So there's been so much happening. I'm a chronological type of girl. So we're going to start at the beginning of the week and move our way through. So Mayor Eric Adams' criminal case, the judge dropping these charges with prejudice, which means that they can't be refiled at any point. Craig, I'm going to start with you. Were you expecting this?
Well, I mean, we've long expected this ruling to come down, trying to figure out how the judge was going to rule. The question was because the DOJ had asked that the motion be dismissed without prejudice, meaning it could be brought back in the future. A lot of people were up in arms over that, even the judge and the third-party lawyer that he appointed to actually kind of look at this case and give him some advice here, believed that this could be held over Adams's head. Now, the ruling, though, 78 pages with prejudice, getting rid of this for good. I mean, I think that was, we did not expect it to come at 9:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. I think we kind of expected it at 5 p.m. on a Friday. But yeah, I mean, this was bound to happen sooner or later.
And Josie, how do you think Adams is reacting to this news? I know you were with me the other day when Adams was sort of looking up in the air, kind of seeming relieved. How do you feel like he's kind of adapting to some of this?
Right. I think he's so relieved. This has been a big weight over him, and he's said as much really since September when the indictment was first dropped onto him. His body language has shifted even in the past couple of days. If you've noticed, even a month ago, he seemed like he was in a worse mood. He was having a harder time getting through some of the press conferences, and now his body language seems more open. He seems excited to be campaigning and out now on the trail. As he said, the indictment before this was preventing him from really getting out there.
Yeah, and now he's switching to becoming an independent candidate. He says he's still a Democrat. Do you guys buy that?
Well, I think it's still a Democrat. I think it's just the question of if he could get on the Democratic line. I think the calculus here is that he only has a few months to kind of change the hearts and minds of voters in New York City. Hasn't been polling well. He was at historic lows beforehand.
20% or something.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, I would believe it's safe face. I mean, you can campaign for longer. You can raise more funds if you're going into the general.
Right, and he says he's a Democrat, but his actions may show otherwise. I mean, his first press conference after his case was dropped, he promoted Trump FBI Director Kash Patel's book that basically dragged the deep state actors for thwarting the Trump administration. So that doesn't really line up with the Democratic Party line.
Now, one thing in his video, he did say something kind of interesting that caught my eye, and we're going to play it here.
Let me be clear. Although the charges against me were false, I trusted people I should not have, and I regret that.
So he isn't saying who he's talking about there, but who do you guys think he's talking about?
He's been asked about this and won't say who has been so against him. It could be his competitors in the race. It could be the media. He's bashed all of us several times, and it could be the lawyers and judges who's pushed his case forward before the Trump DOJ stepped in.
Yeah. Now, is having Adams running as an independent, is that good news or bad news for Cuomo? Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's leading in the polls right now. Do you think this helps him or hurts him?
Well, I think honestly, this is only kind of bad news for Andrew Cuomo at this point, because he's still at the top. So it's all the candidates kind of ganging up against him at this point. At least if Eric Adams was in the race and there's two people there, but then the other conversation would come in of like, well, if both Eric and Andrew are in the race, is this now everybody coalesces on the left against them and pushes this dream, initiative to not rank either of these candidates, and then kind of creating that full force coalition. But I think this really is just going to make this election really drag out into November, when historically primaries have been the deciding factor on who the next mayor of New York City is.
Exactly. Now, there's a fun little hypothetical out there that I have been entertaining. If you put on your hypothetical glasses, look at just the polling. We have this like weird, possibly hypothetical five-way race in the general election that I think is kind of fun to talk about. So there's a possibility that, Cuomo could win the Democratic primary right now, looking at the numbers. Then we could have someone like State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani, who's been surging in the polls recently, who could win the Working Families Party ballot line. And then we have Jim Walden running as an independent candidate, Mayor Adams running as an independent candidate, and then Curtis Lewa running as a Republican. So where do you guys think that matchup kind of all works out? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, actually, yesterday at this mayoral forum, it was Adams and Cuomo's first mayoral forum of the race. Adams,
we'll say forum lightly.
We'll say forum lightly. They were not on stage together. But he said that since he's running as an independent, he says that he doesn't think that will hurt the Democratic Party, and he doesn't think that necessarily means that there might be a possibility of splitting the votes between the Democratic nominee and Adams, leaving an opening for Republican likely nominee Curtis Lewa.
But and it has to be inevitable, though. At this point, Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo have a very big overlap in their voter base.
Yes.
They've both been appealing to the black community. They're appealing to the Orthodox Jewish community, and they are kind of more moderate Democrats, meaning they could probably carve off some of those Republican, maybe Attleboro voters and stuff like that. But then it's with Curtis in the race, and then you have the Zoran Mamdani, and then you have Jim Wall. It's going to be a very interesting few months, and that seems more likely than not that that's how it's going to shake out.
We actually have a viewer question put out on Instagram asking you guys if you guys could answer this question. So this comes from Joe, and it says, will the Working Families Party now try to push sooner for one candidate? All of their endorsed candidates aren't tracking well citywide. That question coming from Joe.
I don't think it really helps them to do that at this point, because everybody on the left here is trying to they're going after the same voter base. And it's very noticeable that all of these candidates, the Landers, the Stringers, the Mandanis of the world, they're not attacking each other. And if it is, it's like a light jab, here or there kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to aggravate and annoy the voters that are going, that they want, maybe they think they'll be the number 2 or number 3 in their ballot.
Thank you guys. I could talk to you guys all day. I already do talk to you guys all day. So thank you guys for coming in here. I really appreciate you guys' insight. It's so helpful. So thank you guys. Still to come, we're looking at New York State's budget, which is almost 1 week late. Coming up next, we'll be joined by State Senator John Liu to talk about where the budget stands. Welcome back to Politics Unusual. All eyes are on the New York State budget, which has now been extended twice after failing to meet an April 1st deadline. So joining us now to talk about some of the key issues in that state budget is Senator John Liu, who's also the chair of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we were just saying possibly you're seeing even more budget extenders past Monday, but we're not really sure.
Yeah, realistically, a budget budget extender, realistically, the time frame should be about a week. But we try to keep it tight. We try to keep it as short as possible. So even if we have to do another one, it's only because we try to get things done, to keep a sense of urgency going.
Exactly. Now, one item that seems like it's going to make it in the budget is this cell phone ban. Tell me a little bit more about this and, why you support it.
Yeah, okay. Well, Shelley Mayer, who's the chair of the Education Committee, I'm the chair of the New York City Education Committee in the State Senate. We both support it. It's something that common sense tells us in today's world that the cell phones are a huge distraction for everybody, adults and kids. But to have them in classrooms when kids are supposed to be learning, they're being distracted, sometimes there are more harmful effects coming from the mobile devices. It makes sense to just take the cell phones out of the school environment, and that's exactly what I believe we're going to do in this state budget.
Do you guys believe you addressed some of the safety concerns I know parents have brought up before with that?
Oh, yeah, and I think that the schools are going to be responsible for making sure that the parents are able to get in touch with their kids very quickly. There are also exemptions for students who need their cell phones for medical reasons. And also, if a teacher has incorporated the mobile devices into their instructional plan, that's also allowed. So, it's not an entire blanket policy where there's absolutely no phones at all. There are very clear and acceptable reasons for the devices to be used.
Yeah. Now, some of the sticking points that I'm hearing in the state budget this year, some issues over discovery, involuntary removal, but also a possible mask ban. Where do you stand on this mask ban? I know there's been some debate over the language of it.
Well, the first two you mentioned, discovery reform, which is allowing a defendant to get the documents that he or she is going to be charged with used as evidence. Yeah. Also, the involuntary commitment of people who can't seem to be taking care of themselves. Those are two top issues. We're not anywhere close to a resolution on those. But at the 11th hour, Governor Hochul threw in the idea of the mask ban. And that is a very contentious issue right now because it was just thrown upon us at the last minute as we were debating the first two issues. And, there's a fair amount of controversy. On the one hand, it's terrible to see these videos of people who seem to be harassing others on the subways, on the streets, and you can't have any idea who they are because they have such tight masks around them.
And the police have said it's hard to identify these suspects.
That's correct. On the other hand, there are still real public safety health reasons why people would be wearing masks. And also, people are afraid that they might be tagged just because they were wearing masks, even if they weren't doing anything wrong. So even if they were simply, for example, exercising their free speech rights. So there are a number of issues. And I got to throw this one issue out because I'm the chair of the New York City Education Committee. The governor's budget right now is proposed delivers $350 million less to New York City schools, and that is unacceptable. We're fighting that as well.
Yes, exactly. Now, one item I want to get your input on outside of the budget. Over the weekend, you were out announcing that you were going to be proposing a bill that would turn that parking lot next to Citi Field into a casino with the Mets owner, Steve Cohen. So kind of help explain. So New York State, so for everyone knows, is awarding 3 downstate licenses. They're going to do so at the end of the year. This is one of the license bids. They want this parking lot turned into a metropolitan park. It's going to have restaurants, hotels, live music.
Don't forget casino.
And a casino. Yeah. And a casino. And you're against gambling. So why are you...
I don't like gambling, but, I believe that there will be 3 downstate casino licenses granted. And no matter where they are, they're going to be close to my constituents. I think it's a total 10-mile radius for all of them. So given that, I think Metropolitan Park actually would be a good public venue, very close to my constituents. The vast majority of my constituents actually want this. And so what I'm doing is my bill would allow them to use that parkland, which is currently a parking lot, has been for decades, use that for a hotel and casino purpose. And that doesn't give them the license. It just simply allows them to submit the application, and then the Gaming Commission would decide which of the 11 proposals will get one of the 3 licenses.
Exactly, and there needs to be some economic revitalization in that area a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an economic boom. I have to be concerned, and I'll continue to watch the possible harmful and regressive effects on it. But overall, I think it's positive. It's what my constituents want. The city council wants it. All my community boards want it. So, I think I just give them a fair shake at it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Senator, for being here. I really appreciate it.
That's it.
I know. I could talk to you as well for hours. We have so much to go over the budget,
yes.
but I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Still to come, we're digging deep into the race for New Jersey governor and highlighting the candidates looking to lead the Garden State. And it was a historic week for New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Stay with us. Welcome back. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker broke the record this week for the longest speech in the Senate chamber's history. The speech lasted for 25 hours and 5 minutes. He didn't sit down, he didn't eat, and he didn't even use the restroom. The senator started his speech on Monday night and continued through to Tuesday evening. Booker blasted the Trump administration in his remarks for several of its policies, but also took aim at Democrats, calling the party fractured without a strong leader, urging the Democratic Party to do some soul searching.
I just feel that Trump mocks us. What does his Liberation Day mean to the people that are shackled to debt? From medical debt, that are shackled with student debt, that can't afford the rising cost of groceries. What's his liberation mean?
Booker's speech surpassed a previous record set in 1957 by Senator Strom Thurmond, who filibustered for 24 hours and 18 minutes to oppose the Civil Rights Act. Now, turning our attention to the New Jersey governor's race, both the Republican and Democratic primary is on June 10th, so we're about 9-ish weeks away. Candidates who want to appear on the ballot had to submit more than 2,500 voter signatures to qualify. So here's who's officially in. 6 Democrats running for governor in New Jersey: Newark Mayor Ross Baraka, Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, Congressman Josh Gottheimer, former State Senate President Steve Sweeney, and former Montclair Mayor Sean Spiller. And turning to the Republican field, 4 Republicans who had declared as candidates did not file petitions. So this is the official matchup for the GOP primary race now. Former State Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli, State Senator John Bramnick, former radio host Bill Spadea, Justin Barbera, and former Englewood Cliffs Mayor Mario Kranjak. Next week, we'll be highlighting other races in the tri-state region, but don't go anywhere. We're going to test your knowledge of the tri-state region, so stay with us as we take a look back at some political history. Now to a political flashback where we look at significant events that happened this week in history in the tri-state region. On April 3rd, 1973, Martin Cooper, a Motorola executive, made the first ever cell phone call on 6th Avenue in Manhattan to one of his competitors. The phone weighed 2.5 pounds and was about a foot tall, but it took almost a decade for that phone to finally hit the market. There was a slow rollout, mostly because the government was grappling with how to regulate the industry to ensure competition. When it finally did drop, that phone cost $3,900. Finally, tonight, we're going to be testing your knowledge because if you like politics, you probably like history as well, and there are many unusual political history facts here in the tri-state region that make this area so unique. Last week, we asked you what famous politician still has a desk inside the New York City Police Commissioner's office. The answer: Teddy Roosevelt. The nation's 26th president also served as the president of the board of the New York City Police Commissioners from 1895 to 1897. And yes, his desk is still there and it's used today. Now to this week's question. In 1884, what was paraded across a Brooklyn bridge to demonstrate its stability? Now, don't Google the answer, but if you know it or want to take a shot at it, go ahead. Scan the code on your screen. That's going to take you to our website, fox5ny.com, where you can type in your answer, then check back here next week to see if you're right. That does it for this week's Politics Unusual. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Morgan McKay. We look forward to having you back here next week.